And we are live. Dawn here with Romance Happy Hour. And I am joined by Dylann. And I just realized, Dylann, our names are not on. So we just had an update. There we go. Oh, hey, thanks. What did you do, Dylann?
I had the Welcome to Romance Happy Hour banner up.
Oh, and you took it off.
Yes. And so
Okay.
I took it off and now it will show everyone's name. Sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to throw you.
No, I just realized I'm like, oh my gosh, they don't know our guests. Samantha, Ryan, and Tabetha. Is it Waite? Did I say that right? Okay,
Great.
cool. Yeah. So thank you, ladies, for joining us here today. Sorry we're crazy. We just got an update on this, and I'm just like thrown off by everything. But yeah, Dylann, what are you up to? Anything new and adventurous?
What am I up to? Yeah, I'm working on novellas for the next Bad Boy of Mustang Mountain book comes out actually the 15th. That one's Casey's. And then my next novella Under Eve. I have two releases coming up in April. A Mountain Man on April 9th, and then I've got the next Bad Boy of Mustang Mountain coming out on April 15th.
Wow.
So, and then I'm waiting to hear back from my agent still on a project that I proposed. And yeah.
So keep him busy.
And we're redoing our front two rooms because yeah. So right now we've been painting the past 2 nights. I probably have like teal or green paint on me somewhere, but so we've been doing that.
So what are you going to be doing with the front two rooms? Are you going to be changing them up, or are you just giving them a facelift?
We're changing them up. I mean, I don't know. This house that we're in right now, like I'd be happy if, I don't know, it's got like the formal living room and like a formal dining room that we never ever used for anything. And so we're turning what was the living room into a library.
Ooh.
Yes. So that we'll have a nice place for all my books, because I have books upstairs, downstairs, pretty much shoved away in every room in the house. And so I'm looking forward to that. And then what was our dining room? I mean, it's still going to kind of look like a dining room, but we're going to put all of our board games and puzzles and stuff in there, because that way we'll have a table where we can sit and leave, a puzzle out or something like that, because we're game people.
Nice. So back to this library. Are you going to have a like whole wall full of, are you going to have a ladder, and is it going to slide like Belle?
So I'm not going to have a ladder.
Okay.
Because I looked at those bookcases and we already had, just like the Billy bookcases from IKEA. And so we're just going to like line the wall with those. And then I like that it has space up above, because then I can put stuff up there, like, some of my bigger stuff and decorative stuff. And so,
okay, well, if you ever change your mind and get the ladder that moves, we need to have an Instagram post of you like down
just back and forth on the ladder. Yeah, for sure.
Your books. Okay.
For sure. Right, I could fake it. I mean, I could probably.
You can.
I could probably just sway back and forth in front of the bookshelves while you're on, if that will help. But we would have to then like Photoshop in a ladder. Yeah. So that's the goal. But we have to do the flooring and everything. So it's yeah.
What kind of flooring are you putting in? The real estate agent in me wants to know.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I bet. Luxury vinyl plank.
Oh, perfect.
So yes. Dawn's other side is coming out. The full-time job side.
So the full-time job side of me is doing less real estate now, though, but I got a job with the Chamber of Commerce.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow.
And I'm switching over to that instead, and it's a Monday through Friday like day job only, no weekends, no evenings. And all it is doing the fun stuff, networking and event planning. So
okay.
I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I think you will do very well with that. Yep.
And the real estate agent in me is backing off. So I'm
you've
happy
been
about
that. For a while. You've been saying that for a while, and then you keep doing more deals. So
I do. But I actually just put in my quitting email in the other day, and I have a meeting tomorrow for them to try to convince me not to, for one of my like referral agency things.
Okay.
And it's not going to work though.
All right.
I got plans.
You'll have to check in tomorrow on the
I'll
Facebook
check
page
in.
and say,
I
"No,
officially
I
walked away.
didn't take their offer." Yep.
I did not. Yes. Yes. I'm very excited about it. I feel calm, less
Good.
anxious.
Good. You know
So,
what? That is a good sign.
yeah. All right. So
Cool.
we are here though, joined by Samantha Ryan and
Yes.
Tabetha Waite, and we are digressing, talking about my crazy or our crazy. I mean,
My floors? Yeah. Yeah. We should be
remodeling is
talking
not
about
even
books.
yeah, books. We need to talk
Libraries
about
are okay, but yeah, we should be
library.
talking about books.
I don't even have a bookcase. I'm getting that soon. So I'm jealous. But Samantha, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe what you're working on. Anything you want our viewers or readers or to know about you.
Sure. My name's Samantha. I am a queer writer from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I write queer fiction. My first book, Pride, came out in February. It is a queer romance. And then I actually just this week got the release date for my upcoming novel. It'll be November 4th. And that all these are not my final words. So, and it's also fiction.
So November 4th, and you're traditionally published, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's fast. You just got
Yeah.
the release date out. That's fast for
Yeah.
traditional. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, I mean, we've been working on it for a while. It's just now I can finally put it out there and
Release.
promote it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
It sounds like it's already been turned in, Dawn. She
Well,
just
I
needs to
know,
write
but
the
like
book
the
and get
release
it
date. Oh,
edited and out by November.
yes. All right, Tabetha, tell us a little bit about you, what you're working on, anything you want our viewers to know.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for having me here, and it's great to meet Samantha too. I write historical romance, so like set in the Regency period. I've always loved like the carriages and the handsome dukes and the dresses and all that floofy stuff. Um, I have written over 50 books, and yeah, it's
Wow.
quite a few. And most of them are indie published, but I do have a couple small press. So I've done a Lion's Den novel with Dragon Blade, and so yeah. And I have the Monday through Friday day job too, but it's in accounting, so
Oh,
boring. So
I respect you so hard because math and me, we just don't.
I hate
Yeah.
math too, but you know what? Computers and adding machines really help a lot. That's why when I come home, I'm like, oh, fantasy. I can escape into this
Yes,
world here. So yeah.
I can see
Yeah.
why. And I love historical. Regency, I love to read. I'm scared. I don't write it because I'm scared to. I write American historical and
Oh,
contemporary, but I love to read Regency. So love it.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Dylan, you think we should get to our first reader or do you want to chat a
Yeah,
little
we
bit
sure
longer?
can. No,
Okay.
I'm just super excited to have you both here.
Yeah.
And Tabitha, I was going to say, are those planets on your shirt? Because
I don't know. I got this
look at,
from
they're like
Sheen. I
polka
think
Oh,
that's
dots.
how you
Okay.
say it.
Because I
I'm
was
not sure.
like
They're just like
waiting for
little
you to
polka
say
dots.
that. I was waiting for you to say that, like you also, like dabble in like paranormal or
Okay.
fantasy or something. Because I was like, oh my gosh, it looks like she has planets on her shirt.
Well, actually, yeah. Okay, well, real quick, because I don't want to like hog the
okay. You're
anything,
good.
but I do have a couple of historical paranormal stories
Fun.
out, and I wrote a young adult fantasy trilogy. Um, but and I'm working on some other stuff, but I'm not really talking about that yet.
Ooh, okay.
I
That
just
Exciting.
is,
kind of like
we,
to go
we,
all over. I
we
mean,
know how that
historical is my
goes.
favorite, but yeah.
Yeah. Don't tell Dawn any secrets. She blows them like right away.
Listen, she's lying. I kept one or two of her secrets, one or two,
One or two.
and they were big ones, and I kept them. I
I don't
did.
tell her anymore.
She doesn't.
I
She
love you, Dawn.
doesn't tell me anymore. Yes. All right, Samantha, let's hear from you. We're gonna put you up there. You'll be by yourself. I'm gonna try
Okay.
the speaker view button on the left. So if we're like glitching like this, that would be me trying out our new functions.
It's not working. It's not working and we can't hear you. Okay.
Am I good now? I can't
Yes,
see
you're
or
good.
hear. Okay.
Sorry, that was me.
No problem. Okay. So I'm just going now.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, cool. So this is my book. I did bring a copy here. It is a queer, modern kind of spin on Pride and Prejudice. So this scene that we're going to jump into is in the first chapter, and this is when we have our meet cute. I stared at the cologne bottle for so long that I nearly dropped it when my phone began buzzing in my pocket. Quickly, I pulled myself from my daydreaming and sprayed twice before checking my phone to confirm it was Mallory. I silenced her call and headed toward the front door. You look nice, Mallory said as I got inside her car. Thank you, I replied, hoping my nerves weren't already evident in my voice. I enjoyed being around people I liked, like Mal, but I was always worried I was going to say or do the wrong thing at the wrong time. Meeting people took so much effort. Mal chatted nonstop on our way to the bar. Unlike me, she was the life of any party, something that occasionally still made me jealous. Her sweet nature and bubbly personality filled any room she entered. I, on the other hand, had to make an effort not to glare. It smelled so bad that I had to open the tiny window in my office. Who knew burnt popcorn could be so rancid? I had no idea, I said. I didn't even know your windows could open, right? She laughed. After pulling into a parking spot, she turned off and swiveled toward me. Listen, this is your job tonight. Find out if he's single. How am I supposed to do that? Just do what you do. You hear everything that everyone says, and even things that they don't say. I laughed at that as she got out of the car and headed into the already busy bar. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. Of course it is. You're the smart one. Which one is your dreamy professor? I asked, looking around the crowd. Mal slapped my arm to shut me up. Come on, you're supposed to be helping me here. I don't know what I can do other than try to find out if he's gay or not. Mel shook her head before moving toward the bar. I'll buy your first round as a thank you for being here. You didn't give me much of a choice, I mumbled as we walked. Your usual? You know it. I pulled the cuff at my blue patterned shirt nervously. Hey, Kelly cried as she walked over to us. Ben, it's so good to see you. We hugged before Mel handed over a full glass. I sipped it while they hugged. I'm going to the bathroom. Watch my drink, Mel said. She headed toward the back of the bar while Kelly slipped into the stool next to me. She looks great. I'm so glad to see her doing well. Yeah, me too, I said truthfully. She lost so much weight after the divorce. Right, I agreed. Kelly wasn't wrong, but I questioned whether her bringing it up meant the same to her as it did to me. Mal had been divorced for nearly a year. Why was she bringing it up now? Coming from Kelly, it felt slightly disingenuous. I just want her to be happy. I know you do too. Of course. We sat in silence for a minute before Kelly started up again. And I want you to be happy, she said, playfully hitting my arm. How's your summer been? Good, I said, before taking another drink. The store's been busy, which is good. It'll start to slow down soon. You know, Kelly started, my previous offer still stands. No, I insisted. The store's my life. I can't just give it up. I just think you should meet with Jason and hear what he has to say. Who's Jason? Mal asked as she walked in on our conversation. My investor friend. He's interested in the store, but Ben won't even hear what he has to say. I'm not selling, I said with a firm but friendly smile. That's a buyout, and this is my entire world. It makes me happy. Fair enough. Ben will never give up the store, Mal joked. He'll die in there before he sells it. Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that. Against the bar, scanning the crowd. Everyone's attention was drawn to heavy steps coming in unison from the back door. Two men were making their way into the crowd. The well-dressed man on the right made me instantly think of Mel's previous description. Dreamy. Beck asked quietly. Kelly nodded. What did I tell you? Beck was handsome, but nothing compared to the man on the left. He was commanding, tall, and incredibly gorgeous. His dark, mysterious eyes scanned the crowd as he walked, his heavy boots scraping against the wood with each step. I was conscious of exactly how much I was staring, but I couldn't have stopped if I wanted to, and I didn't want to. Who's that? A little louder than I meant. The corner of Kelly's mouth rose in the slightest of smiles before she replied, That is Beck's friend, Avery Fitzgerald. A professor? Kelly grinned. Oh no, he's not a professor. Fitzgerald is in Centennial Oil Fitzgerald's. Wow, I said before I could stop myself. He was up in Beck's office the other day helping him move something so hot. Mr. Avery Fitzgerald looked like he knew he was too cool to be in a room with a bunch of nerds. He shoved his hands in the pockets of his black jeans and followed Beck to the bar. The crowd resumed their conversations and Mal sipped her drink quietly. So are you ready for your classes to start yet? I asked Kelly to distract myself from the incredible new stranger. As soon as you are as ready as you can ever be. I finally got a TA this year, so fingers crossed it won't be a complete nightmare. Oh my God, Mel mumbled around me. What? I asked things like, No, don't look. I tried to reach out, but I swiveled directly into the approaching Avery and Beck. Sputtering, I tried to apologize. Avery looked at me and said nothing. I hated looking like an idiot. I really hated feeling like one too. Professor Bennett? Beck asked in a charming voice that seemed to match his general demeanor. Hello, Mal replied in a sing-song pitch that was at least 2 octaves higher than her normal tone. Professor Beckett, correct? Yes, Beck, please. And you are? He asked, noticing me for the... I stuck out my hand, but Mal jumped in before I could get a single word out. Brother, this is my brother, Ben. Ben Bennett. Well, brother, Ben Bennett, it's nice to meet you. And Kelly. Beck's fluffy hair shifted slightly as we shook hands. I could see why Mal was interested. He looked like every other guy she had dated. Sweet face and charm, despite the gentle lines around his brown eyes. His friend, on the other hand, looked to be a few years older. His manicured stubble was more gray than black, and his long, unruly hair was streaked with signs of age. This is my friend, Avery. Avery nodded, but said nothing. Can I get you all a drink? I offered, hoping to make a good impression. I'm fine, Avery said simply. I'd love a drink, Kelly said, pushing me. We moved away together, leaving Mal, Beck, and unfortunately, Avery, in their own conversation. I downed the remainder of my glass before we reached the bar. So what do you think of him? I asked when they were out of earshot. Oh, I think he's great. He seems super sweet. A little absent-minded, maybe, but genuine and kind. A lot like Mal, actually. I smiled at the idea and ordered us a drink. And his friend? I tried to ask in the most casual way, but Kelly could tell from my smile and she saw right through it. You think he's hot? She teased. No, I said defensively. I mean, obviously he's hot, but I don't mean it like that. I was just asking. We got our drinks and someone from across the bar called Kelly's name. Want to play darts? I looked back at where Mal was standing with Beck. Avery had disappeared. From here I would have a good vantage point to study his body language like the stalker I had been brought to be. No, I'm good. You go ahead. Good luck, she said suggestively before moving away. Though I might have been a little biased from where I was standing, it certainly seemed like Beck was interested. He was leaning toward Mal and laughing at everything she said. After one joke, he even lightly pushed against her shoulder. Any physical contact had to be a good sign, right? It was true that Mal did look happier and healthier than she had in the last year since her divorce. It had done a number on her self-esteem, and I would give anything to take that pain away from her. Even if that person was Beck, if it was just a rebound thing, I would do what I could. What do you teach? A deep voice asked next to me. I jumped at the sudden presence of the figure, and so engrossed in watching Mal that I hadn't noticed the appearance of Avery on my other side. Oh, no, I'm not a professor. I'm just here for her. Oh, he said, looking surprised. You look like a professor. What do you do then? I own a bookstore, Bennett's Fine Books, over on 14th. Really? He asked with a hint of genuine interest. Yeah, it's small, but mine. What about you? What do you do? He started, pushing the cardboard coasters across the bar into a neat little stack. This and that. I didn't know, and wasn't even sure what that meant. Is there any money in books? He asked. It's a bit like record stores or photo labs. It's stuck in the past, don't you think? No, I started, more defensive than I meant to be. People collect records and take more photos than ever, and they still buy books. Maybe not like they used to, but they still do. Right, I guess so, or you wouldn't be in business. I wasn't sure if it was meant as a jab in the way it felt, but I stopped myself from shooting off a retort out of respect for Mal. I didn't want to make a bad first impression, but clearly Avery didn't feel the same. What are you drinking? He asked, pulling on the bar stool. I hope the annoyance wasn't written on my face. It would be difficult to spy on Beck with Avery to me the whole time. After a second, I changed my mind when I realized that he might be the best option for getting usable information about his friend. Jack and Coke, I answered. I let Avery place his order before turning up my Spanish Inquisition. How do you know Beck? Years back. He leaned against the bar as he spoke. Through his sister. Our families have been close for a long time. I don't remember how we met. Married? No. You? No, sorry, him. Oh, are you looking? Or I felt my face flush and realized I might be coming on a little strong. No, sorry, I guess just curious, about Beck. Avery raised an eyebrow. Well, I know he's not married. I don't know if he's bisexual. He's only dated women in my knowledge. No, I wasn't. I mean, I am. I stopped myself telling a stranger that I was gay. I don't know why I had to justify my own sexuality to someone who seemed like they were intentionally trying to make me angry. Really, there was no reason for him to even care or know anything personal about me. For being so nosy, was what I said alone. I'm teasing. And I guess I should ask you what you were asking me. Is Mallory single? Yes, I huffed. Yes, she is. Now that we know that both parties might be interested, he raised his glass to mine before taking a drink and sliding off the stool. Cheers. I was so thrown by the entire conversation, I wasn't sure I actually had gotten the little information, but I probably gave too much of my own. I don't know why he rattled me so much. I looked back to Mal and Beck, who were still deep in conversation. Avery was headed toward the back door. I wondered exactly where he was going. Maybe he was a smoker. Maybe he was abandoning Beck. Maybe he was just a bleep. That's my only bleep.
That's funny. I love the bleep at the very end.
Yeah, I wanted to end it on
a bleep. I love that.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's hard to read.
You did wonderful.
I did practice before because I was so nervous about reading, but yeah.
I know we always tell people like, don't be nervous. It's fine. It's, we're super laid back. It's super casual. But yeah, I think people don't believe us. So
No, we've had a couple people like go really fast, and we're just like, slow
I know
down.
that
You're
was
going
in my
5
brain.
minutes.
I know I'm a fast talker in general. And so I
Yeah.
kept telling myself, like, speak slow. Because I am a very fast talker.
That's funny. My daughter's a fast talker. In fact, I was like coming from that to this, and so it was a good change of pace. You did really well. Because my daughter's just like, her hands go too when she talks. She's just so fast that her hands have to help her out. So
Yeah.
I love that
Well-
one of your characters is named Mallory. That's my oldest daughter's name. And I was like,
Oh.
yes, you don't hear that very often. So I was like,
Yeah.
awesome. And then you said it was like a Pride and Prejudice variation. And I
Mhm.
was like, yes. So
Yeah.
like all the feels. Yeah.
Smile, my Jane.
Yeah.
So knowing that, are you a Jane Austen fan then? How did you
Yes.
choose this then? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a huge Jane fan. I love looking at all the iterations of Jane Austen material. So one of my favorite interpretations is Bride and Prejudice, which is the Bollywood contemporary version of Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love just how the story's a classic story. Everybody, and I think that's the thing. You know how it's gonna go. It's gonna be there. And so how you can take it and kind of manipulate that either contemporary or, just culturally like with the Bollywood version. I think there's so much opportunity to create new material from that. And so I just love that idea of like having the homage not only to Jane Austen, for me, my was also to like 90s rom-coms. So my inspirations for this story in particular, You've Got Mail, Sleepless in Seattle, and Harry Met
Yeah.
Sally, all of those. I love those movies so much. So that was definitely a big love letter in my mind for this book.
Truly romantic at heart.
Yeah.
So one question, what is your favorite Jane Austen novel then? Is it Pride and Prejudice, or do you have another one?
It's really close, I would think, between Pride and Prejudice and Emma. I think I probably
Oh.
reread Emma more than I reread Pride and Prejudice. But I think it's maybe because there's so much external Pride and Prejudice material that I consume that more, and there's less Emma material. So maybe that's why I go reread Emma more.
My daughter's name is Emma. For that reason, I am also a massive Jane Austen fan. So, but my favorite is Persuasion. So I love it when I get the Jane Austen. Yeah, woo! Those
The letter,
letters,
man.
right? Oh, yes. In fact, my husband has so he wanted to get like a his and hers tattoo. And so he has on his chest, because he was in the military, had to leave all the time. So he said, I also feel this all the time. So he says, you pierce my soul. I'm half agony, half hope. And then on my ankle, I have loved none but you tattooed on my ankle. So it's just
So
kind of like a,
sweet.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we can never get divorced. So
it'd be very painful for you to get that lasered off.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
Turn it into
Yeah.
something else.
yeah. But yeah, I'm a huge Jane Austen. I'm glad you both are too, because Tabitha, clearly you are as well.
Oh
If you're
yeah.
like,
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
If you've
See,
read
I'm like,
Persuasion.
I mean, I
Jane
like
Austen,
Jane Austen,
Beauty and the
but-
Beast. Love Beauty and the Beast too.
Yes,
So when she was talking about that
yes.
library, I was like, yes,
Yes.
yes, 1,000 times
Yes.
yes. There you go.
Yes, there you go.
Yes. No, my library will not rival Belle's library at all.
Well, you know what? If I couldn't get a rolling staircase in there, I'd probably get like a step ladder and put it on some roller skates or something. Be like,
you
I'm
go.
Yeah.
gonna make my
That'll
own.
work.
It's my own.
The redneck version. There we go.
Yeah.
That's that little grabber thing, where it's like you
Oh,
can't
yeah.
reach things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have one of those.
The extender.
I have one of those.
Yes, the little grabber.
When we lived in Port Angeles, so we lived in Port Angeles during the Twilight craze. And so that was interesting. But when we lived, it's also a very small town too. We would go for drives at night just to keep us occupied, and we'd come up this hill, and there was this house that had like these big bay windows and over their library. And so you could see their library.
Ooh.
And I would just be like, let's just drive by this house one more time. One more
Nice.
time, babe. Like, this is I want to buy
and
this
then
house.
that was the first time Dawn got arrested, right? As a
Yeah.
teen
Read
Dawn
the books.
for stalking.
I'm a PB Tom of libraries. Sorry,
Yes,
and that's the
exactly.
behavior.
Just say I'm here for a
Yeah.
Twilight tour. I'm on a Twilight tour. Just trying to
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just a crazy tourist. So,
Well, we do have one question so far.
yeah.
Danielle wants to know, and we'll have you can answer this first, Samantha, if you don't mind. What's a normal writing day for you?
Ooh, good question. So I have a 9 to 5, and I usually do most of my writing late at night. And so if I'm in the middle of a project, I try to do at least 1,000 words a night if I'm writing. But I get to where I'll draft a project in about 3 to 4 months. So when I'm in the middle of that and doing it, that's all I'm doing really. And so if I'm not writing, like now I'm in between projects, I'm not writing at all. So I'm either like writing all that and be like right into it, or I'll take a break and do a lot more reading because I don't tend to not read as much when I'm writing.
Mm-hmm.
So the spin-off is, are you a plotter or a pantser? Clearly a
Pantser.
plotter.
Oh
Huh?
yeah. Yeah.
Yay!
I don't write order. I don't
Oh,
plan anything out. Yeah. I usually start with my first scene and my last scene, and then we meet in the middle.
yeah.
Wow. See, I'm linear.
I'm
I
linear
I feel like
have
too.
to write
I'd get stuck.
linear. I don't know how you don't get stuck if you don't have any idea what you're writing and then you hop around. Like, how do you know what in the world to write? If you don't
Um,
plot, I mean, I've heard of people who are diehard plotters who can hop around because they know what each scene is supposed to be.
Yeah.
But that is really impressive that you are not a plotter,
well,
and
once
that
I
you're a
have my
pantser
premise,
and you hop
it's
around.
genuinely like a movie where I can just
Mhm.
jump in like I know what it is, and so I see what it is so maybe I do my plotting in my head, but
Mhm.
I know where everything fits in it, and then just go from place
Mhm.
to place.
Yeah.
Mm.
Very interesting.
Yeah. I don't recommend it, but it does tend to work.
You know what? We've talked to so many people on the show, and then I mean, just other authors in general. Dawn and I have both been doing this for a fair amount of time, and it's so interesting that everybody has their own process.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know what? And I, when I first started, I did not like my process, and I try to change my process. And I can change some things about it, but I also think, I mean, like, kind of your process is your process, and
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it might not be pretty.
Yeah, which is why I think
Or
a lot of writing advice does, especially when you're just beginning writing, it will encourage you more later. But
Mhm.
whenever I would try to force myself to do that, then I would give up projects so quick. Because if
Yeah.
I did get
Mhm.
stuck, then I couldn't just forward. So it kind of got to
Yeah.
the part where, well, I know what I want to say. So I'm going to say what I want to say, how I want to say it, and then
Mhm.
I'll come back and fix it as I go.
Yep.
And then, like, once you realize, like, well, just because it worked for you, it might not
Mhm.
work for other people, but other people might give you advice that doesn't work for you. So you just have to figure out,
Exactly.
know
Yeah.
what you need to take and let the other rest of it go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome that you figured that out so
Yeah.
early on. Because
Yeah.
that's your first book, right? Your debut that just came out?
It is
Or you
my debut, but it's
Okay,
definitely not the first book I've written,
sure.
but it is my first book published. Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Very cool.
I get advice from my mother, and what she does is hears authors talking about their process, and then she comes to me and she's like, "You know what you should do
Mhm.
is write like this. This person does it this way." And I'm like, "You know what, Mom? I'm good."
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me that that's how they write.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So how about you, Tabitha? What's a normal writing day look like for you?
Well, I'm a total pantser. Like, I have
Mm.
no idea where the story's gonna go. I don't even have the ending. So I'm like, good job for Samantha for that, because I'm like, no clue. I start out and I'm like, okay, we got some names, we got some hair color and some eye color and stuff. All right, let's make a story out of this. And sometimes, I might draw from like a secondary character from another book or something like that. So I kind of know a little bit of their personality. If I'm starting a brand new thing, it's like I might have like a premise, but I but I don't know. It just seems like the words once I sit down at my laptop, it's like the words just start coming, and I just tell everybody that I'm doing what the voices in my head tell me to do. The characters are telling me their story, and I'm just dictating it. That's all I'm doing. So,
Yeah.
and I work full time as well, and I usually shoot for 2,000 words a night because I try to do 10,000 words a week. So, and then if I don't make it, because there's stuff that comes up during the week, or
Mhm.
you're just like, man, I'm really tired, or oh, I really got to watch this TV show tonight, and I really can't. So, I mean, if I don't make it during the week, I usually just try to make it up on the weekends, and
Mhm.
so
Mm.
yeah, for a full length novel, I shoot for 80,000 words, so that's like 2 months.
Mhm.
So
I admire you guys that being able to write
Yes.
at night because I cannot. Like I am a morning writer, and if I don't get up and get my but I know we can say the A word, but I'm trying to be better for you, Dylan. But if I do not get my butt going in the morning, I'm just lost. And that's the same with my workouts. Like I have to write words and work out before my day gets going, or I just don't do it.
Yeah,
And you got
I'm
like
not
a
even
couple
awake.
hours already in then before you even get moving.
I know. That's why I have to wake up at 4 a.m.
Ugh.
oh my god, I am not a morning person.
I'm not either. I hate it. I have to have
No.
30 minutes of coffee before I can do anything.
I'd have to have an IV drip,
Yeah.
I don't do that good.
I
And
would
working
have to
out,
just
oh,
stay up
definitely
from the
not
night
that.
before and just never go
Yeah.
to sleep. That's the only way
Yeah,
I make it.
exactly. I would do better with that.
Well, you guys
Just
must
stay up
stay
all
up
night.
late then. I mean, I'm an early sleeper. I go to bed early, so
It's
it
usually
helps.
about 11:30 for me, unless it's on a weekend. Then I stay up later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dawn's
I'm
usually
tired.
falling asleep by the time we wrap up Romance Happy Hour
Yeah,
and
I
she's in Mountain
am.
Time
Yeah,
Zone. So it's only what, like 7:30 for
it
you
is
right now?
7:30, and it's actually my bedtime. I got to be honest now. So I stay up
Ugh.
later for romance happy hour. To be honest,
We appreciate it.
you're
We
you're
do.
you're very welcome. Actually, I
Yeah.
don't stay up. I go and have my shows. Right, like I watch my shows and I decompress, and then my kids want to come talk, and I'm like, you got 3 minutes, go. And then I decompress and then I fall asleep. And then my husband rolls in around somewhere around midnight, and we're just completely different. I can't, I admire that though, because I've tried so many times to write at night, but my brain is just like, we're done for the day.
Yeah. I find it
So
easier to
no.
write in the morning, but if I'm on
Yeah.
deadline,
Yeah.
I'll push it. I'm more efficient during the day, in the morning, I think, when my brain is fresher. But yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I could form sentences if I woke up at 4 a.m.
Mhm.
No.
My
Nobody would
words
That's what the
definitely
wouldn't
want to
coffee's
be
go
around
for.
me.
That's what the coffee's for. The coffee gives you sentences.
out. That's
Isn't it
I
true.
fun
think my
how
characters would still like hate each other. There wouldn't be much romance going on, I don't
yeah,
think. A good fight scene, maybe. Yeah.
if you had to wake them up that early and get them to start doing
Yeah.
stuff, yeah,
Oh
it would not cooperate.
yeah. No.
Yeah. Um, oh shoot, I had a question in my brain and then we laughed and then I forgot about it. So
It'll come back to you.
it'll come back. Yeah.
It'll come back. So I would like to know. I mean, we have Samantha who's written probably many books, but published one, and then Tabetha, you've published
50?
over 50. It's like, what do you? I don't know. Like, what's your perspective on just the industry and I mean, romance in general? Because Samantha, sounds like you have probably read a lot of romance, but I look at like you're kind of like coming into things, and Tabetha, you have been around for a while. Like, what are you most excited about when you think of romance, Samantha, and then Tabetha for you? Like what, like how do things look for you? Because it seems like it's always changing.
Dylan,
So.
Yeah,
it's
I,
getting deep
I think
tonight.
mine is unique also because I'm a queer author of queer romance.
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
think that like I had someone in the industry the other day was talking about how like there's no room on the shelf in romance for queer writers, which is just like a ridiculous thing to say. But the way that I saw that when I said that was, well, luckily we now get to build a shelf because there wasn't room
Right.
historically. And then I feel like recently in the last 10 years or so, there is now a shelf. And so that's super
Mhm,
exciting. So yes, I'm coming into it on my own career journey, but then I think also
mhm,
just right now being so excited to get to see queer authors hitting New York Times bestseller lists and
mhm,
that being a thing where it's like, that is a huge part of romance right now. And so
Yeah.
I think kind of is my perspective in which it's super, super exciting for me.
mhm,
I mean, even before, like years ago, I had gay friends who read romance. I mean, it's always been a thing, and I think that now it's just you get like there's just more of a what am I saying? Like avenue for queer
Mhm.
writers
And I
to
think
publish.
queer stories coming from queer writers. A lot of
Yeah.
times that's
Yes.
always the case where and not that I don't have a problem with that myself, but just the opening of the door a little bit for a lot of queer voices to be heard, I think is super
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I mean, at least I've been published since 2018, so but I was writing before that. But yeah, I've seen a huge difference. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of that has come with, the ability for indie publishing.
Mhm.
Just like you said, there wasn't a shelf for that.
Mhm.
Or if there was, it was kind of like this little tiny sliver over here.
It
And
would in June, and then by July 1st, it was.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was just, yeah, it was not well, and there wasn't I mean, I think publishers have always been very selective about what they pick and,
Mhm.
put marketing dollars and stuff behind. And so, yeah, you don't see a lot of those books, they weren't being championed
Right.
as much. And so now it's nice. I mean, I honestly believe like there's a reader for everything. And you go into some of these Facebook groups and you'll see somebody will be like, okay, I'm looking for, like a stepbrother, but there's also got to be a unicorn and, blah, 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 blah. And,
Mhm.
people will pop up and it's like, oh, here's like 5 different books that meet all of those criteria. And I'm like, that is just
Yeah,
amazing to me.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's just the availability of, just, and also just representation and, like you living that life and then also being able to put that into your stories.
Mhm.
I
Yeah, and
think
real
that
quick, my
is
press is a LGBTQ press, so when you buy my book, you're supporting. Like, I think it's
awesome.
super important to support small presses
Nice.
who are queer presses. That's
Hmm.
Yeah.
where you can make an impact with that dollar to say these are things that I support.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. But yeah, I love that you have that authentic representation and everything as
Mhm.
well. So yes,
So
always
I
room.
one of the questions I was going to say is how did you decide in your genre though? That's one of the questions that it popped up in my brain, like back
Okay,
here.
but you have to wait because Tabitha hasn't answered my part of my
Okay,
question yet.
that's right. You're right,
What was the
Tabitha.
question? All right, we're talking.
Wait,
We
yeah,
really
wait.
forgot the question. What was
I think
We
it?
we're just
derailed.
talking. I
Sorry.
don't know. I didn't do a very good job of phrasing the question, but it was just, that Samantha has just, published her first book, and like you have published like 50, and
Oh
so
yeah, what
just
we're
Yes,
like that
looking forward
yes.
to, like on the
perspective
shelves and stuff.
of
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say there have been a lot of queer like historical romance authors, that have been on the show, like Erica Ridley,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cat Sebastian, Olivia Waite. Sadly, no relation, but I did get to meet her, and that was cool. Saying, "Hey, am I your cousin?" Kind of thing. No, no, but so I mean, yes, there's definitely is a market for that
Yeah.
now, and there's lots of people that I know that write it. So I mean, yay, that's awesome.
Mhm.
um on my aspect, I've definitely seen a trend in the cover. So like even like with historical romance, you don't have the usual clinch cover much anymore. Like except with indie, like we like our bodice ripper kind of
Mhm.
looking covers. Even though it's not, it has definitely evolved over time. It is not like, the woman is this helpless damsel in distress like it used to be in the 80s. I mean, we have the strong women now, and the guys are the ones going, oh my gosh, this crazy girl, So I mean, we really put them through the ringer. So I mean, I think that's really important. But yeah, I see a lot of the covers that really have the fantasy aspect to it, like your flowers and your vines. And so
Mhm.
I've definitely noticed it. Or illustrated covers are really big too. And I think
Mm.
it's maybe because there's not as many models as
Mhm.
maybe there used to be. So they're all
Let's
just
just
trying
say
something
good
fresh
looking
and new because
models.
different generations too.
Yeah.
No more Fabios out there.
I
So
have a shirt with Fabio on it, just saying.
yeah.
Don
Yes, I
has
do.
a thing for Fabio.
No.
Fabio did come and visit our
Well, he was
show
like the
once,
goat of historical
you
romance
know.
covers. So,
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I thought it was really funny. I was like researching Fabio. So you guys probably don't know, but my husband showed up on Romance Happy Hour one day as Fabio, and I made him this mask. So he was very scary, Fabio, and he wore a wig. He was a
Nice.
very scary Fabio, but he was Fabio. And
Mhm.
but in the process, I was like researching it, and I thought it was hilarious. Like I did not realize that he got hit in the face by a goose on
Oh,
a
yeah, on a
yes
roller coaster.
on a roller coaster
Yes.
in Williamsburg,
Oh, I
Virginia,
didn't
where I
know that.
Oh my
lived.
goodness.
Right? Yeah, like there's like a in Williamsburg, Virginia, or it's like
Mhm.
right next to it. Yeah, he was on a roller coaster next to a model, and he got hit in the face by a goose, and it's just got a
Mhm.
picture of him full of blood.
Oh my
And I'm like, oh my
gosh.
God, Fabio, are you okay?
Oh
Like, you must have
no.
been okay because you still did covers after that. So
At first, I thought you were saying
yeah.
that your husband got hit in the face with a goose
No,
when
it
he was
wasn't me.
wearing the
It wasn't my
Fabio mask,
husband.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
what? That's not right.
Yeah, that
No,
would have been crazy.
she and her husband, or her husband and Fabio got in a fight. No,
No,
no. With the
Fabio's
goose.
like, you don't look like me.
I have seen a trend though. I've seen some authors doing like the step back covers,
Oh yes, yes.
of the old like the older more vintagey romance novels where they had like the cover and then you kind of open it up and then there's like the cover or the step back inside. I don't know.
Interesting.
I've heard some people talking about that, but yeah, it's interesting how trends have changed and
Yeah.
I have
everything.
a series coming up next year. Well, we did one. There was a group of us, 12, and I want to call it the Calendar Guy series because we made a calendar out of it. But it's called the Rake Review, and we had like a different guy of each month. And I was October. It was the Hunt for Mr. October. So we're coming out with another series next year, and there may be a few pretty step backs with it. And I hope
Oh,
I'm not saying
nice.
too much,
Oh,
but
Yeah,
yeah.
very
So it's
cool.
gonna be really cool. We're gonna have some more calendar
fun.
guys.
You have to let us
Yay.
know when that happens so we can share that.
We'll start in January. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet. Yeah.
All
So
right.
one of the perks is you just let us know. We'll post it on there. Be like, here we go. Let's start this.
Yeah.
Let's start this calendar. All right, but we are actually like needing to hear from
Yes.
Tabetha.
Yes.
So Tabetha, if I can do this without screwing up too bad, I'm going to put you up there by yourself and mute the rest of us. And so let me do this. Yeah, it's much better when I don't. When I
Okay. Am I ready to
okay.
go?
Yep, you're good to go.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm just making sure. Putting on my spectacles here because I'm in my 40s, so it's that time. And I have my Kindle here, so I have a bunch of different stuff. So I don't have my paperback yet. So I'm reading from that's the cover of The Villain's Vixen. I hope you guys can see that. That was on my phone. Had a little glare. That is the what is that? I don't even know. The fifth book? Fifth book. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, the fifth book. I had to count on my shelf back behind me. Of the Wanton Wastrel series. I always have to like stop on that because I get tongue tied. Okay, and I'm actually just reading from chapter 1 because a lot of people say that the first chapter is like what draws them in. So hopefully I did good on this one. I've had some readers like it so far, so we'll see. So October 15th, 1825, London, England. And just real quick, I picked October 15th because that's my wedding anniversary. So little Easter egg there. Keep your distance from that one. Lady Alexandra Givenwald turned to see her aunt nodding toward a new arrival who had just entered the ballroom. As she glanced in the direction her companion had indicated, her focus instantly fixated on the tall, dark-haired gentleman in question as she murmured, "Why ever not?" Her aunt huffed, "Because he is the worst bounder in London." And I would do like sorry, I got commentary in here, but I would do like a British accent if I was any good at it, but I'm not, so. Okay, a true scoundrel if there ever was one. He's a consummate rake who has no conscious thought of others. He's ruined more than one lady's reputation, but it doesn't even seem to faze him. I speculate he has no number of morals left to speak of to have such a crass demeanor. I cannot believe that Lady Westcott would dare to invite him to her autumn ball, except that he is a duke and cousin to King George IV, which, I suppose, gives him a proper entree in that regard. Lexi couldn't help rolling her eyes. She loved her Aunt Bonnie dearly, but sometimes she could be rather dramatic and particularly severe against those regarding whom she contrived a strong opinion. Are you sure your sources aren't based on ton gossip? You know as well as I do that London likes to stir the pot for their own amusements. Her aunt glared at her, the blue eyes so similar to Lexi's, widening with rebuke. Don't be vulgar. And no, I am not exaggerating. Trust me when I warn you to give that man a wide berth. And if he approaches you, no one would think ill of you should you give him the cut direct. With that, she patted her gray hair and found her attention caught by something beyond Lexi's shoulder. Ah, Margaret is here. Find something to amuse you while I take a moment to converse with my dear friend. Lexi wanted to snort as her aunt moved away. Converse might as well be code for gossip because Lady Margaret Limewood was one of the worst in London. Lexi firmly believed that is where her aunt regained most of her valid information, which was likely fabricated, highly fabricated, of course. Since Lexi had been in London, she had to admit some of her anticipation for the little season this autumn was starting to wane. She had expected dashing gentlemen and women who were of a similar bent. Instead, she had discovered vapid debutantes with little to recommend them in the way of conversation, and titled men who were not the handsome rogues she had anticipated. All but one. Her gaze was drawn once more through the crowd to where the mysterious, dreadful Duke was conversing with another gentleman. She did not readily recall his name, but she remembered upon introduction that he was married. If the Duke was such a rake as her aunt claimed, then why should he waste his time speaking to someone who could no longer openly carouse? The Duke was also the only choice thus far who intrigued her. She would be lying if his reputation didn't strike some interest as well. But for someone who lived her entire life in the sheltered countryside, she was eager to engage in some flirtation and a bit of revelry. Her aunt would be shocked to learn her heart was so wild, but Lexi had always been a free spirit. She had not come to London with the sole purpose of securing a husband, no matter if that was what she had claimed. She wanted to experience life. Her eyes remained focused on the Duke, and she realized that this was the man who could teach her everything she wanted to know. Unfortunately, the one spark of entertainment had been forbidden, so she was forced to search for other means of distraction. And yet, a quadrille was currently taking place, and since she had been left to her own devices, her aunt couldn't stop her from finding a way to gain an introduction to the Duke. However, she had to be a bit covert about how she might gain his attention. It had to seem an accident so that she couldn't be held directly responsible should her aunt witness them conversing. She pondered her options for a moment and decided that the best thing was to offer the pretense of moving toward the refreshment table, which just happened to be right beyond where the Duke was standing. If she casually meandered about the edge of the room, she could easily become jarred by someone and fall right into his arms. Her lips twitched on a smile. It was a perfect plan. Seeing success in her vision, Lexi headed forward. She kept her attention on the Duke, but a bit more covertly. She didn't want to be obvious in her attentions because if word returned to the Duke, any chance she might have to gain his notice would be spoiled. She had grown up trying to gain her father's regard for years, and only when she despaired of ever doing so had he finally started to engage in conversation a bit more. So while her experience with men was limited to the Marquess of Singleton and the handful of male servants he had employed, she decided it was enough for a chance encounter. She smoothed her skirts, grateful that she'd chosen a mint ensemble this evening. While she despised pastels, at least she felt that green complemented her light hair, and the emeralds brought out the sparkle in her blue eyes, perhaps slightly disguising their true color by their reflection. Moving easily through the throng of guests, she was grateful that she wasn't so petite in stature that she couldn't keep an eye on her quarry in his black and white formal attire. She was finding it increasingly difficult to turn her gaze away as she drew nearer to him because it was obvious he was quite tall, and those broad shoulders had no need of padding. Her heart thrilled at the prospect of securing such a handsome man, regardless if Bonnie thought he was a poor choice. He was infinitely preferable to the rest of the men present, and for the first time since her arrival in London a week ago, her spirits had finally lifted. But it wasn't hope that was rushing through her veins, it was excitement. The idea that she might actually trap the prowling panther before he had a chance to realize he was being targeted. Her lips curved upward in another smile as she drew closer. She would have to quickly avert her eyes should he spy her approach, but thus far he seemed to be engaged in a highly in-depth conversation. She would certainly have to ensure she bumped him lightly if he didn't sense that someone was watching him. But surely he wouldn't be so oblivious. She should hate to act like a fumbling ninny when she had always been confident of herself. Thankfully, she had outgrown the insecurities that had plagued her as a child. She did not want to feel that way ever again, as if she was not merely ignored, but seen and quickly passed over. Each step had her breath becoming shallower. She was nearly abreast of her target now. She could hardly wait for the moment he turned his dark head and set his eyes upon her. Would they flash with approval? She would certainly be devastated if it were the opposite. But she supposed that this man roamed London, there could be more with whom she hadn't yet gained an introduction. The music was starting to draw to a close, and she knew she had to hurry if she didn't want to be inundated with people returning to the sidelines to find their next partner. She couldn't let this paragon of sin and vice slip through her fingers, not until she had made herself known to him. She wanted him to remember her name and her face and dream about her every night until he whisked her away on his noble steed. Very well, that was probably doing it a bit brown. She had never been that sort of extreme romantic, but it would be nice should he sweep her into a dark corner and kiss her senseless. She bit her lip, fantasizing about that very moment when the music stopped and the conversation began to buzz around her once again. She lifted her skirts and closed the remaining distance between her and the Duke, but when she heard her name called, she had no choice but to mumble a curse beneath her breath and turn to glance at the speaker. Yes? It was a middle-aged earl, something or other, and he smiled broadly at her, as if she was already the prize he'd managed to win. Lexi understood that sometimes convenient matches were made as opposed to love matches, but she had to draw the line when it came to someone old enough to be her father. She had just turned 20, and while someone should say she was in danger of being on the shelf if she didn't wed soon, she was perfectly content to keep her options open, and they didn't include the earl. However, if she didn't play by the rules of society and conduct herself with decorum, she would soon be ostracized, which meant shipped back to her father's estate in shame. Since she didn't want to waste the opportunity she'd been given, she forced a smile to her face as she allowed the earl to take her hand and bestow a kiss upon her glove. I believe our dance is next. Lexi wanted to inspect the card dangling innocently from her wrist, but she had to concede that the earl was probably right. Of course. But if you don't mind, I was just heading for some punch. Allow me, he said pleasantly, and offered his arm to her. She reluctantly threaded her arm through his. As they turned back to her original destination, she felt her heart sink. The villainous Duke was no longer there. Drat. She wanted to stamp her foot in frustration. A quick scan of the area proved that he wasn't close by, so any hope that she could bump into him was lost as well. As the earl gathered her punch, she took a few sips out of politeness, alone, and allowed him to escort her to the floor where, thankfully, another country dance was starting to play. Although Lexi didn't care for her partner, he didn't make any suggestive comments or lewd remarks while they danced, for which she was grateful. She wasn't sure she could accept defeat and unwanted advances. As she waited for part of the line to move, Lexi happened to glance toward the terrace doors leading to the gardens. Her pulse fluttered when she spied a dark shadow slipping out into the night air. She snapped to attention and enough time to resume her steps so she didn't make a fool of herself, but her mind was whirling with the prospect of cornering the elusive Duke once again. It would certainly be easy enough to slip outside for a breath of air. No one would consider that odd in the least. Satisfied that she had put a second plan into place, she quite enjoyed the rest of the dance. Done.
Awesome. So I'm just unmuting everybody here. Okay.
There we go.
I love a good Regency so much. So what she's got to marry, and clearly this Duke is the prize. What's his occupation? Just curious.
Right, he's a Duke. He didn't have to have an occupation.
Okay, all right. He doesn't have to have an occupation. Does he do anything? Is he like a secret spy? Is he like just a rake? Or
Well, he was a secondary character, so he kind of has a secret. Yes.
okay. I guess that's the question.
I was going to say, don't force
Does
her
he
to
have a
spill
secret?
beans, Dawn.
Okay, I know.
That's an alternate
Spoilers.
identity. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a villainous
Oh,
Duke.
he does have an alternate identity?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I knew it. Yes. Okay. I knew it. That's kind of where I was getting at. I'm very
Yes.
excited now.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
She's kind of a little spitfire, isn't she?
I love
She's,
it.
Oh yes. Like I said, these ladies nowadays, I mean, you don't mess with them. They know what they want and they're going after it.
That's funny
the
though,
thing,
because
though.
when we
Go-
were talking about kind of what's changed, it's like
Yeah.
the heroines in romances do now. I mean, I used to ride my bike to the used bookstore and buy the bodice rippers by the bag,
Mhm.
and so
Yes.
so I'm probably dating myself, but yeah, romance heroines today definitely have a lot more agency than they used to, which is funny because even historical romance that's written today, the heroines seem to have a lot more agency than historical romances that were written before.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
We actually have a new bookstore in Missoula starting. It's called FMC Bookstore, and female main character.
That's so
Mhm.
cute.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and her whole thing was because the females are the main characters, right? Like like she loves those Spitfires, and
Mhm.
every romance author writes a Spitfire. I don't think there isn't a heroine really who doesn't hold her own at some point in a book.
Right.
I
Even
mean,
if she's a
regardless of,
wallflower, she might kind of
yes,
start out a little bit,
Mhm.
but at some point
shy or reserved, but
yeah,
Yeah.
at some point she does. So I
yeah.
love it. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yes.
It's just like, yeah, we're getting a lot of romance bookstores.
Yeah.
They're
I'm
kind of
excited
popping up
about
all
it.
over. I think that's awesome.
Have
Yeah.
you guys heard of Under the Cover Bookstore in Kansas City?
No.
Yes.
Okay, well, I got to go to that one, so that
Oh,
was really
nice.
cool. Yeah,
Nice.
real
Nice.
selection, really cool stuff there.
Next time I pass through there, I definitely, well, I'd love to just do a road trip, around the country to visit romance bookstores. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe you
And-
should map it all out for us, Dylan, and then
Okay.
we can meet you.
Go on tour.
Like you can come and have tea with me at FMC.
I picked this up
have one.
at Under the Cover Bookstore. It's actually a map of all the romance only bookstores.
No way.
Oh,
Oh,
So
that's fantastic.
yeah,
I have not
Nice.
seen that yet. We have
I had to dig for that.
yeah.
yeah, we have
So
a
that's why my
romance.
hand was all like weird because I was looking behind the
Okay.
screen. But yeah.
We have one by us. I haven't actually been to it yet. But
And
they
you're a romance author? You should be like, "Hey, can I sign here?"
I went.
Yeah.
Okay, so they started as a pop-up and I went to
Yeah.
that, but then they got a physical space and then I tried to go one day and they weren't open.
Oh,
And so now they have more regular hours, but I haven't been up there
yeah.
for a while.
Ours, I had lunch with the lady that's starting this one, and she's trying to get a physical space, but she's having some difficulties with them saying romance books aren't fundable, kind of thing, where it's like, is this really a good marketing strategy? And so anyways, so she has having issues with that, so she's starting it out like online, and
Okay.
then as soon
Yep.
as she can find the right space, then she's
Yep.
going to be,
Yep.
so she's doing good. She's kind of a
Gotta start
pop-up now
somewhere.
too. Yeah.
I know, right?
Mhm.
So, Dawn, I think we have talked too much to fit any more questions in.
Yeah.
Do
I
you have
know.
any a last minute question or
Yes, I do. And
Okay.
it's the one that even Deanna, who usually is here and she's not, but
Right.
she's our resident Australian, so you'll have to forgive her because she might be at her day job. Um, but
Because
um,
it's the future already in Australia
yes,
right now.
it's
It's
the
Friday
future
morning. Yes,
already. Yes. Or is it the past? I don't know.
it's the
How
future.
much in the future is it? Like all the way in the
It's
future.
tomorrow. It's like tomorrow daytime.
Almost
Maybe, I don't
almost
know, like
24, I think.
11 or 12
Okay.
o'clock tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, so if your life or love life was a trope, what would it be?
Or describe your life or love life
Yeah,
in a series of tropes.
in tropes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You've stumped them, Dawn. Way to go.
I'm terrible with tropes, so this is like a trick question.
Like
would you
mine is like military guy and like military and what else was there, Dylan? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Alpha male.
Mine would be clumsy heroine with four-legged fur babies who, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean, my husband and I, when we met, it was a Halloween party. So it was a,
Oh,
well, it was a, I don't know. I don't know if this is a trope. Like my friend had set me up to meet someone else and he didn't show. So I met my husband that night instead. But
Mhm.
we were both in costumes. So I don't
Yeah.
know. That would
what
be,
was your costume?
Yeah.
I dressed up as Venus, goddess of love.
Nice.
Oh,
That's so
Yes.
Yes.
sweet.
And
And
then
this is
you found your husband.
long
Apparently there's
before I ever even started writing romance. And he was wearing a dress. So I
But
explained
there's
that
something to say for the Venus of love,
it
right?
wasn't a dress. It was like this cloak thing, but he had forgotten the belt. And then he'd been wearing a mask earlier, but he took it off because he was playing pool. So,
So then he was wearing a dress.
and I'm like, what are you supposed to be? You're just wearing a dress. And he's like, it's not a dress. It's a cloak. I'm like, it looks like a dress to me. But
What was his
nice.
intention? What was his costume?
it was just like some scary mask and then like this like cloak thing. I mean, he was
Oh,
he was a
okay.
graduate
Generic
student
villain?
and like
Okay.
just dug something out of the
He
closet,
basically said,
I
"I'll
mean,
put this like this Reaper thing on and then
yes.
Okay,
like
I
make
Yes.
a
gotcha.
mask."
Yeah.
It's kind of, I think my
Although, yeah, he was way before his
11-year-old.
time, right? Because now, I mean, if he had been wearing one of those masks that you see on TikTok all the time,
Mm,
Hmm.
he
marshmallow
was. I
head.
could say he was a masked man.
Hmm. Masked
Ooh,
bandit.
Yeah,
nice.
not that kind of masked man though. Anyways,
All right. Oh, we digress. Okay. Okay. Anybody got your tropes?
I
Your-
mean, I feel like it's super queer to be friends to lovers. That that has to be like the quintessential queer experience is to fall in love with all your friends. So
yeah.
that's probably
Aw,
what I
I
would go
love
with.
that.
Well, um, I mean, we didn't really have like I mean, I guess we've always been friends, so maybe we kind of got the thing too. But I pulled up a picture because we just had our 25th wedding anniversary,
Aw.
and I don't know if you guys can see that, but we dressed up,
Oh my
and that is
yeah.
actually
Oh,
at Gretna Green. So if anybody knows the history of Regency,
Wow.
so Scottish law was different. So you would go over the border to Gretna Green to get married, and that's where you would elope. So that's where we we had a hand fasting there where they kind of tie the knot. That's where
Nice.
tie the knot came from, and they kind of give you a
Yeah.
blessing and stuff. So
love
I
Oh,
it.
guess
super cool.
um
And he's
not
in a
really.
kilt. Was he wearing a kilt?
Yes,
So
yes. And
see,
at first he had trouble putting that on because he never wore one. So I'm like, he
you
was wearing a
married a guy in
skirt.
a dress.
Yeah.
There's a theme here, a dress, a skirt.
There
Yeah.
is.
I mean, so it
I mean,
started
that
out
way
with
you
Scottish
can
law.
check
No,
out
it
their
is an
legs
actual
and make
quilt.
sure,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they strong? Are they weak? Do they look like pencils?
That's
Oh.
funny.
All right. Well, we are
Awesome.
over time like usual,
Yep.
Dylan.
Yep.
So we are gonna say goodbye. I honestly, I was going to Romance Happy Hour tonight, and I thought it was the end of March because I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like read the things. And I'm like, no, wait a minute, Dylan's reading the questions. I get to host tonight. And then I realized it's the beginning of March instead of the end of March, and I was
Oh,
very
we're almost
sad.
to the middle. We're
Yeah,
kind of to the middle now.
kind of to the middle. I was
Almost to the
hoping it
middle.
was more to the end because then planting season is here. But
Mhm.
okay. But when you host next time, Dylan, hopefully it'll be warmer because we just had snow today. So I'm just gonna say,
Wow.
let's do that next time. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Project non-snow next time.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we will be back in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And we will see you then. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the show today. We had a lot of fun. It went really fast, like always.
Thank you.
And yeah, if you go back and if you have anything you didn't get to answer that you got to answer, or you want to promote anything, just go ahead and post it in the comments. And we will see you viewers in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was nice to see both of you. Thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.